Hey, my name is Pavel and I'm a product manager at Shieldoo. I'm gonna talk about design sprint and shape up methodologies. I approach them as toolboxes so the team picks techniques that we like instead of blindly following them all. Therefore, instead of explaining the theory of the two, I will tell you how they fit in our story. It began in a cloud consultancy company called Cloudfield. The engineers were implementing similar solutions repeatedly, so they were thinking about reusable pieces of technology. As they were creating a proof of concept, the management saw an opportunity to create a product out of that. So the company has put some effort into marketing research to see whether there is some space for such a product. There are two disconnected teams that barely understand each other by that time. Things are not moving anywhere. And that is when I was introduced to the product to do something about it. In fact, there was a technological proof of concept, which worked, but totally failed user testing. The UI was so complex that a skilled engineer could not set up without an additional explanation. I saw an opportunity to run a design sprint to come out of that situation. What is design sprint about? It's a methodology by Google Ventures. You can read about it in a book by Jake Knapp called Sprint or open a website gv.com/sprint. But essentially, it's a series of exercises that lead you to great ideas and a tested result that you build upon them. The key thing is the user testing in the end. The hardest thing in organizing a design sprint is to clear the calendar of all the participants for 1 week. But we managed with some exceptions that I will mention later. I had CEO, CTO, engineers, marketing, and customer support experts in one room. It all happened in November of the last year. So we needed to find a little hotel and have it closed just for us because of COVID. So it served as a great team building in the end, because it was pretty rare to have a common dinner by the time. We planned to do the first 3 days in the hotel, Thursday remote and Friday in our offices. I will later explain why. On Monday, we set the goal. It had to be ambitious enough to compensate for the cleared calendar of all the participants. Also, it had to close the gap between the customer on one end and the complex technology on the other. We understood that the way goes through designing some UI concepts and explaining the complicated stuff to a non-technical audience. We also organized several online interviews with various experts from our company. They shifted our view of the problem slightly, but the critical sprint questions remained the same. Tuesday is the recombination day. The team focused on searching for great ideas on the internet at potential competition and anywhere from coffee shops, shoe sellers to fintech, wherever. By the way, the product lets you connect various computers and mobile devices securely, no matter where they are or whether they have a public IP address or they run in the cloud. It's sort of a VPN on steroids. Anyways, we presented the ideas that we found, noted them, and voted for the best. The design sprint uses a simple but powerful technique to achieve this. You create visual notes on a whiteboard. Then you distribute little round stickers that serve as votes. As people stick the ballots on the notes, you get sort of a heat map of great ideas. Brilliant! Each participant is instructed to sketch their own idea to solve the problem in the afternoon. This is funny how everyone grumbles in the beginning and they don't know how to start. And then they deliver awesome UX sketches. I really am proud of the creative spirit that emerged. Anyways, We repeated the heat map exercise on Wednesday morning and created a joint solution sketch in the afternoon. Here was the point where we appreciate the decider role the most. Our CTO Valda was the decider, by the way. For those who have some notion of Unix operating system, I explained the decider role to him like this. There are some voting exercises, and basically the role gives you the sudo command. You inspire yourself by the votes already given, and you cover them with what you feel is the best. This is a great thing for two reasons. First, the decider gives it a clear direction when the voting results is too even, and the flow goes nowhere. And secondly, Valda's authority is so influential on the product that we would go in his direction anyway. And it's better to user test it in the design sprint. Half of the design sprint would be thrown away if we tested another idea otherwise and then went in Valda's direction without the test. On Thursday, the team needs to create a viable prototype. There is just one single day to do that, so you don't have any place for implementation. We used Figma to turn the sketch into a clickable prototype. Since there were a front-end engineer, a full-stack and UX expert on the team, we left the prototyping to them. We released the managers to cover the most urgent week's agenda for one day. This was a known compromise, and it was in favor of letting all these exercises happen. Friday is the day when you evaluate what you just created. We called two potential users of our product and invited one personally for user testing. In our experience, remote user testing is no significant limitation. When we made the test on-site, we simulated the remote conditions anyway, because we needed to have everything recorded. So the simplest thing was to call from one computer to another in the office. It's easy to record the screen and face and sound then. You can also stream to test the rest of the team, who may not be available in the office at the time. The user testing gave us precious feedback. To sum up, it basically meant that we choose a very good approach, but there is still a lot of work ahead of us. We took some great ideas out of it. What are the most important takeaways and suggestions from the design sprint? First, make it happen. When you are facing a similar situation especially, it is a boost to your product or project. Second, keep photos and record all the notes. The design sprint connected the team and created a common understanding. That is priceless. It identified the pain points and gave us hints to solve them. And last but not least, keep the ideas, but throw away the prototype. Start from scratch the real solution. After the design sprint, we had a direction and needed to start executing and organizing the work. The process we have is hybrid, as always, but we took the most inspiration from ShapeUp. Again, there is a book available for those who like to read the theory first. It's called ShapeUp and it's written by Ryan Singer from Basecamp Company. You can also read it online on basecamp.com/shapeup. The subtitle says, "Stop running in circles and ship the work that matters," which is a kind of clickbait, but there are principles which I found really helpful. I worked most of my career as developer or in similar technical positions. Therefore, I still feel pain when it comes to effort estimation, and I really like the approach of ShapeUp. It also addresses some pains of modern development like context switching and broken time, which costs productivity. In addition, the books suggest leaving some time for the team dedicated to hygiene of the code and of the knowledge. They call it cool down, and the time serves engineers to try new technologies, fix minor bugs, or refactor. Next, special attention is paid to so-called rabbit holes, where the development can be stuck for an unpredictable time. And what is important to us, it all works perfectly for remote teams. The methodology splits the design and development process into two asynchronous threads called shaping and building. In addition, the threads are connected with a vital exercise called betting. The development runs in cycles, while shaping is more organic. The shaping outcome is a rough description of a mini project called a pitch. The pitch serves as an assignment for a team of 2 to 3 engineers for one cycle. Several such pitches are fed into the betting table. Usually a CEO, CTO, a senior engineers, and somebody for product strategy. These people need to decide which pitch they bet on for the team during the next development cycle. So they basically allocate 3 people for 6 weeks to an assignment. I personally like the logic behind the bet. It says, here you have 6 weeks to solve this problem. We bet on you that you deliver. And we won't bother you during that time with anything else. It incorporates the unpredictability of development. The traditional approach goes problem, analysis, estimate, and potential losses surprise. ShapeUp says we are willing to spend cycle to solve this problem. Here is a rough idea of how to solve it. The team is encouraged to make trade-offs and simplify. And it needs to deliver. It means test it and deploy it. If the bet doesn't turn out to be successful, there is another round of betting, where you can decide to bet another 6 weeks or give up and do something else. We have not implemented full ShapeUp, but we fell in love with this principle. The mini-team doesn't need any special sync meetings. Instead, they self-organize and usually communicate via Teams or Slack. The 6 weeks are not entirely blind, however. The mini project is managed using so-called scopes. As the team is getting familiar with the pitch, they cut it into pieces. The pieces are vertical, meaning you better deliver a full feature from a button in the UI to a database migration than a few buttons without support in the backend. How do you know where you are with the scopes? The progress is covered using a hill chart. Traditionally, the ideal synthetic way splits work into tasks before the beginning of the sprint or a cycle. Then the tasks shall be delivered one by one till the sprint is finished. But what's the reality? You discover new items when you start working on the first tickets. And that's what is represented with the hill chart. You are first climbing the hill. At first, the state represents something like, I just started working on the issue. Then something like, I'm getting familiar with it, but there are still some unknowns. When you are getting to the top, you say, now I'm far enough with the scope that I know what needs to be done to finish it. Every developer knows this feeling. This usually leads to a very productive and joyful time spent in the zone. As you cut the work, you go down the hill till you finish. You can either have a tool to move the bullets on a hill, or, as we do, you can simply represent the states by columns on a product board. We are storing our code in GitHub, so we use GitHub projects, and it's currently enough for us. The shape up definitely fits our team much better than what we all have tried so far. However, there are of course some downsides. It demands some level of seniority from all the engineers, and you may have a hard time training your junior colleagues. And that's it for me. Thanks for watching and enjoy your day.